75 cities were surveyed to determine sports teams. 22 had baseball, 19 had football, 11 had basketball, 11 had baseball and football, 7 had baseball and basketball, 6 had football and basketball, 3 had all three. We'll let A equal baseball, B equal football, and C equal basketball. We want to answer the following 5 questions. How many had only a football team? How many had baseball and football but not basketball? How many had baseball or football? How many had baseball or football but not basketball? And how many had exactly 2 teams? We need to fill in the Venn diagram to the right of the problem. And we're going to start at the bottom of the list. One thing that we don't know yet is how this works out. We have 75 cities, but we don't know how many cities do not have any sports teams. So we'll have to keep that in the back of our head. So let's go ahead and start with the bottom. This will be the first step. 3 had all 3. That means the intersection of the 3 sets will be right there, and there are 3 teams or 3 cities contained in that particular set. The second thing that we're going to look at is the next statement, which is 6 had football and basketball. Now, if football is B, and we'll go ahead and write football over here so that we make sure that we know which circles represent what, and baseball is right here. And then basketball will be this one. So, back to the problem. 6 had football and basketball. That's going to be the intersection of football and basketball. So that's going to be this region right here. This is the intersection of football and basketball. However, we already have 3 teams accounted for, so this is going to be 6 minus 3, which will be equal to 3, and we will put 3 right here in region Roman numeral 6. Next, we'll move on to the next statement, which is 7 had baseball and basketball. Now, baseball and basketball, that means we're looking at the intersection between baseball and basketball, which is this area. But notice that we do have 3 already accounted for. So this will be 7 minus 3, which will be equal to 4. And we will place 4 right there. So next we go up one more. And we look at the statement 11 had baseball and football teams. That's going to be this intersection right in here. But once again, we have 3 of those accounted for, so 11 minus 3 will be equal to 8, and I will place the number 8 right here in region Roman numeral 2. Then we'll go to the next one, which is 11 had basketball, and this is going to be, excuse me, statement number 5. So 11 had basketball, which is the purple ring here. But understand that we had 4, 3, and 3 already accounted for. So that's going to be 10. So we have 11 minus 4 plus 3 plus 3, which will be equal to 11 minus 10, or simply 1. So we'll place 1 right here. Then we go to the next statement, which will be 19 had football. So that's statement number 6 that I'm dealing with. Once again, we're looking at the blue ring here. But notice that we had 8, 3, and 3 already accounted for. So we simply take 19 and we subtract the group 8 plus 3 plus 3. So we're going to have 19 minus 14, which will be 5. And that will go right in here. Now we'll go to the next statement, which is going to be the last statement. And that's going to be baseball. 22 cities had baseball. Once again, we're taking everything that's in the red ring, because that's what represents baseball. And we're going to subtract that from 22. That means that we've accounted for 8 here, 3 over here, and 4 here. So we'll subtract 8 plus 3 plus 4. That's going to be 22 minus 15, which will be equal to 7. So that means I have 7 teams worth of baseball right here. And that basically means that those cities only have baseball teams. Now, the one thing that I'm missing is what the universal set is, which is out here, this area right here. Remember that I had 75 cities to start with. And if I add up all the numbers that I have accumulated here and subtract that from 75, I will get the number of cities that do not have a baseball team, a football team, or a basketball team. So we'll go ahead and do that. We have 7, and we're going to add all of these together. And then we have 8, and we're going to add 5, and so on. And we arrive at 75 cities minus a total of 31 cities that we have accounted for baseball, football, and basketball teams in, and the remainder is going to be 44 cities that do not have either a baseball, a football, or a basketball team. Now we can go ahead and answer the questions, even though some of these have already been answered. We'll look at question A right here, which states how many had only a football team. And that's going to be this value right here, because there are only 5 cities that have football teams. Part B is going to be how many had baseball and football but not basketball. Now, the key to this is going to be looking at the and, because that's an intersection. It's going to look like this. So we want to have baseball and we want to have football, but we're not going to have basketball. So where do baseball and football intersect? And that would be right in here. But like I said, we can't have basketball, so we will ignore this piece right here. That means that there would be 8 cities that had baseball and football but not basketball. Okay? Now, let's go to the next one. How many had baseball or football? Baseball or football. That means it's a union of the sets. It does not preclude having basketball. It just says how many had baseball or football. So since it's a union of baseball and football, we're going to go ahead and understand that we're looking at everything that's contained in this circle and everything that's contained in this circle. Now, there is overlap, but we won't count those twice. So we're going to count all of these values together. 7 plus 8 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 3 to get our total. And that will be equal to 30. Alright, so we move on to the next statement, which is D. How many had baseball or football but not basketball? Okay, so this is going to be a union of baseball and football, but we have to exclude the possibility of basketball existing in there. So, once again, when we look at this, this is your baseball, this is your football, but we have to exclude any regions that also contain basketball. So we're simply looking at this region 7 plus this region 8 plus this region 5, which will give us 20 cities. And then we're going to ask the question, how many had exactly 2 teams? Well, in order to do that, we need to look at our numbers and our intersections. Now, we want to find where they overlap. How many had exactly 2 teams? Well, that's going to be in this general region here. These are the intersections of the circles. But because we're looking for cities that only had 2 teams, we'll exclude this center. So there's 8 cities there, 4 cities there, and 3 cities there. Add that together, which is 8 plus 4 plus 3, and you will end up with 15 cities.